move on to Dave Smith, who's going to talk to us about a really gross abuse of human rights, which is the blacklisting of workers, particularly in the construction industry, and the magnificent campaign the Blacklist Support Group has fought. Thank you, Dave.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's an absolute honour. I bring fraternal greetings from the Blacklist Support Group, which is a group of workers who've been blacklisted for being members of a trade union or raising health and safety concerns in the building industry. And can I also say, to start off at the very beginning, I think it's a privilege to come here to Hazards. I was a safety rep for many, many years. Since the 1990s, I've been a member of the Construction Safety Campaign. I was a safety rep for my union, UCAT. And when this story first broke, and lots of people didn't want to know us, Hazards set up a blog for us on their website, the Blacklist blog on the Hazards website, which has been the first Hazards deserve an applause, and genuinely the Blacklist Support Group consider ourselves part of the National Hazards Campaign. That's how we see ourselves, as an integral part of the campaign. And at a time when the Conservative government is butchering health and safety protection for workers, I think it's now that we need to come together and stand up and say no. All this nonsense about, oh, we're cutting red tape, what they're doing is they're trying to save money. That's the only thing it's about, they're trying to save money. Well, there is a difference between us and the Conservative and the Liberal government, Content government, because they want to save money and we want to save lives. And I'm very, very proud of that. You know, whether you're a safety rep or you're a shop steward, trade unionists have very, very often realised that if you raise things with your management about asbestos, or if you raise things with your management about the toilets overflowing, or bullying in the workplace, or stress, then very often it affects your career prospects. I imagine one or two people in the room may have, you know, similar experiences. And of course, sometimes we don't get promoted, sometimes we get sacked, and in extreme cases, we get blacklisted. Blacklisted where when we try and get a job in the future with another company, we can't get a job. And from our point of view, we think the reason we haven't got a job is because we've been a trade unionist or because we've raised health and safety concerns in a previous capacity in a previous employer. And the trouble with when you say that is people think we're conspiracy theorists. They think you're just paranoid and it doesn't really happen and you're just making it up because that's just, you know, the way you are. Except, of course, for one group of workers now in the construction industry, no longer can anyone say we're making it up and it's a conspiracy because we've got the files. You know, we've got the files. And it started with a few workers in Manchester, a few electricians in Manchester. I've seen there's some people in the room here who know Steve Aitchison and Graham Balker and Tony Jones and Colin Trousdale, who said that they couldn't get work because they were being blacklisted. And at the time, everyone said you're talking nonsense. And yet, a Guardian journalist wrote a story about it. And then the government department, the Information Commissioner's Office, read the story in the Guardian, and that led to a raid on an office in the Midlands, a small little office in the Midlands, an organisation called the Consultant Association. And when they got in there, what they found was secret files on 3,200 workers in the construction industry. Some of the files are up to 50 pages long. It's got your name, address, national insurance number, photographs of you, your telephone number. It's got your work history in it. My file's 36 pages. It's got photographs. It's got my safety rep's credentials photocopied with the company office stamp on it. The credentials that are meant to give me legal protection, they photocopied it and sent it to my blacklist file. Just for being a safety rep was enough to get you blacklisted in the construction industry. It's got information about my brother, it's got information about my wife. It's got, you know, some of the stuff on people's files are absolutely offensive nonsense. I was the safety rep on one job, and the company wrote stuff on my file saying that I'd actually committed arson on the job, you know. And I'm the safety rep on the job. At the time, they never mentioned it to me. Seriously, okay, they never mentioned it to me at the time. Yet they've circulated this amongst the 44 biggest construction companies in the world through this sort of secret blacklist that they had. And we know it's the 44 biggest companies in the UK that are doing it because a government department, not a government department, a select committee is doing an investigation into blacklisting at the moment, the Scottish Affairs Select Committee, and they've dragged in the people who used to organise this and run this. And it wasn't managers on a building site, it wasn't low-level junior supervisors who were organising this, it was the directors of the companies. It was the directors of multinational companies, Sir Robert McAlpine, Costains, Skanskas. They were the people who were actually doing the blacklisting. One of the people there before the select committee, his name's Callum McAlpine. He's the director of Sir Robert McAlpine Limited. He's not just a director, he owns the company. He's an actual genuine member of the bourgeois. And he is actually the person who attended the meetings and circulated this stuff about us and stopped us getting jobs. And to be honest, if all they did was kept files on us, then fine, someone wants to keep a scrapbook on me, good luck to them. But it didn't work like that, because every time we applied for a job, what would happen was they would check to see whether our name was on this list or not. And if your name was on the list, you never got a job, or if you'd happened to have got on the job, if they found out your name was on the list, they sacked you. And we know this because every time they checked a name, it cost them £2. And when they did the raids, they found the invoices. And the last year that they were in operation, this organisation, was in 2009 when they were building the Olympics. So Robert McAlpine built the Olympic Stadium, Skanska built the Olympic Media Centre, and in that year, the invoices for them two companies separately was £28,000. Which shows you the industrial size, the industrial scale of blacklisting of people just because they've raised concerns about asbestos or raised concerns about toilets that overflow. And the people that are involved, they're Unite members, they're GMB members, they're UCAT members, they're RMT members, and in fact, because this is, you know, this event is dedicated to the memory of the workers on Piper Alpha. Some of the members on the blacklist are from the Offshore Industry Liaison Committee, who organised campaigning in the offshore industry after Piper Alpha. One of the people on the blacklist, his name's Professor Charles Wolfson. He was a professor at the University of Glasgow, and his name was added to the blacklist because he was doing research into health and safety in the North Sea after the Piper Alpha disaster. That's the first thing written on his blacklist file, and it actually says the companies, the multinational companies that currently fund Glasgow University are thinking of withdrawing the funding from the university if he carries on with this kind of research. These are the kind of people that we're working with. These are the kind of people that we're trying to take against. And, you know, what I don't want people to think is that I'm a victim, because I don't consider myself a victim at all. I'm quite, you know, I'm a trade unionist, and I'm proud of it, you know. And I don't feel sorry for me, you know. This is how it works. You know, let's not have any blinkers and pretend. This is labour versus capital. This is how it works. And if this is what we have to put up with, then we've got to fight against it, and we should be prepared, and we are going to fight against it. Because the workers have been blacklisted. We're not. Sometimes they tell us that if you're a victim of a big miscarriage of justice or a human rights abuse, that you should keep a dignified silence. Well, I'll tell you now, I'm not prepared to be silent about this.
God, man.
We're taking them to the High Court. We've got claims going to the European Court of Human Rights. We've got local authorities up and down the country, and I'm very proud of this. Councillors up and down the country are passing motions at the full council meetings saying that blacklisted firms shouldn't get any publicly funded contracts. may have seen the dispatches programme and the stuff that's been going on with the Guardian recently about the undercover police spying on the environmental activists. There are 400 environmental activists on this blacklist as well, and we know that some of the information on their files and some of the information on the files for some of us as well as trade union activists has come from the police, undercover police. And the only way we're going to expose this is by having a full public inquiry. That's what we need. If it was good enough for celebrities when their phones were being hacked, they've got legacy. This is, you know, they've told us, they've had a full debate in Parliament, and David Cameron's even asked questions about this in Prime Minister's Question Time. And Vince Cable and a lot of them, they've all said, oh, it's historic. It's not going on anymore. It stopped happening when they found the list. Well, they did it in the Economic League from 1919 up until the 1990s in secret until it got exposed. The minute it got exposed, they shut down the Economic League and they set up the Consultant Association. And from 1993 until 2009 they did it in secret. Now, they've only stopped doing it because they've got caught. They've done this in secret against us for nearly 100 years. I don't believe anything they said then. Why should we believe anything they're saying now? We're going to fight these and we're going to kick them through the courts. And if the courts and Parliament don't do it, then we'll have civil disobedience to bring them down as well.
Well done, comrade.
Publicly funded project in Western Europe is taking place in London today. It's the Crossrail project. It's a major new underground line that's going from the west of London to the east of London. And on that job, the very first time we got a shop steward and safety rep on there, they were sacked. Instantly, almost instantly that they were on there, the safety rep and the shop steward were victimised and were suspended from work after a period of time because the company director was told by the HR director of Crossrail, who previously was a blacklister with another firm called CB&I. He's got a form on this stuff already. They were told to get rid of the shop steward on there. His name's Frank Morris. He's the shop steward for Unite on there. Because they refused to sack Frank Morris, they threw the entire company off. It's going on today. It's still going on today. We've had walkouts on that job. We've shut down Oxford Street probably 20 times with the mass mobilisation we've had. When they had the National Building Awards at Park Lane in the middle of the centre of London, when they all turned up in their dinner suits and their ball gowns to come and get their awards, we were outside there with the Blacklister of the Year awards, and we shut down that Park Lane for 2 hours. We're not going away. We are not going away. We're going to fight this until we win this, whether it's Frank Morris or all of the others. With the Frank Morris case on Crossrail, they've sent people, because the companies involved in this are multinational global companies, we just haven't been doing protests in this country. They've sent people to Holland, they've sent people to France, they've sent people to Sweden and Spain. Last week they were picketing in Canada to get him his job back. We are going to extend every sinew to get that man his job back, and when we do, it will be a victory for the entire country. We're not the only blacklist. I'll be honest, we're not the only blacklist. There are people in this room, I can see people in this room who've been dismissed and victimised in the past. Sarah Friday, I can see her over there. She was dismissed from the railways for being a safety rep in the railways back in the 90s. There's other people in the room who've been dismissed for being union safety reps as well. We're not the only blacklist, we're the only one we found. That's the truth. We need to expose what's going on, and we need to get this sorted. And we can't do it on our own, because on our own there's a few hundred of us, and we're builders and we're ex-builders, and it's great. But what we really need to do is we link together with other people. And I'm very, very proud of this. We did one sign, which was the Allen, okay? But there's another sign that we have for solidarity in the trade union movement as well, is when we bring people together, okay? Because workers on their own, when you're one at a time, they can snap you off. If you're on your own, they can snap you up. But when we come together, it's very difficult. And when we bring together trade unions, safety campaigners, environmental activists, and investigative journalists, politicians and lawyers, then we come together and we make it fit. And then they
Solidarity, my man.